Hello and welcome to another episode of MenTalk2 Presents. And today I've got a very special guest in Stevie Ward. So Stevie is captain of Leeds Rhinos rugby league team. He's an England international and he's also the co-founder of Mentality magazine and podcast. So big welcome to you, Stevie.
Thank you for having me on, mate. Great to be on and great to be chatting to a legend as yourself.
You're far too kind. But people are in my voice, I can guarantee you of that. With that. So I suppose as a quick introduction, because we do have listeners that are from further south than the M62. So just explain, Leeds Rhinos are obviously one of the leading teams within the Super League in England. Rugby league, was that something that you always wanted to become professional at?
Oh, mate, always. Ever since the age of 6 years old, when I first picked up a rugby ball, and went down to the amateur team in Morley. That's the first time, mate, where I went and played first ever game and trained and just sort of had that natural talent and that natural enjoyment, feeling free as a kid, and being in Leeds, as you mentioned, one of the biggest teams in the world rugby league. That was sort of the pinnacle to get to and the pinnacle to chase that dream for. And it's been a long, old, winding road to get there and to get there to captain my hometown club. But it's been quite an experience, and it's been quite a incredible journey, mate. So really happy to have actually got there and to be doing it.
And just to give kind of people a bit of perspective, just talk us through the trophy cabinet that you've been very much a part of in your, 8-9 year career now?
Yeah, it's getting long now, mate. I'm getting a bit long in tooth. I feel like I'm about 40 years old, but I'm 26. And I've managed to win. I've managed to get a runners-up medal at Wembley just a few weeks after picking up my A-level results. And then a few months after that, won a grand final in 2012 at 18 years old. And then the year after that, played in a World Cup Challenge. Unfortunately, I didn't win that one. But I've gone on to win another Challenge Cup and another grand final too. And appear in another World Cup Challenge too, mate. So there's been some big games, some big events and some big collisions, in my game and my career. So it's been a pretty fast-paced career too, with everything going on.
I can well imagine. And I think one of my favourite stories regarding you, and I think this story, if you don't mind telling it, just shows just how tough you rugby league boys are. Before one of the grand finals, was it the week before in the semi-final, you dislocated your shoulder, and I believe it was, about 16 hours before they re-put that in, and then you strode out at Old Trafford and played in the grand final. Talk us through that.
Yeah, what an incredible time that was, mate. I've missed the grand final before through injury, but 2017, the week before the grand final, I think it was 7-8 days. The last 4 minutes before the end, I had a brilliant game that day as well, and felt really proud to have put that performance in. But 4 minutes before the end, I managed to dislocate my shoulder, ruptured the labrum in my shoulder, came off the field, couldn't get it back in. Went to A&E, and they just simply couldn't get it in. They tried knocking me out and stuff like that with all the morphine under the sun and everything else, and they still couldn't get it in. So I had to go into theatre the next morning to get it physically put back in, get put back to sleep and get that put back in. And that sort of the couple of days after that was, I was at the bottom of the barrel those couple of days, because I was about to miss the biggest spectacle again through injury in the last minutes of the semi-final. But I managed to turn my mindset around. I managed to sort of have that all or nothing attitude, which has served me so well over the course of my career, and just said to myself that every decision that I'd make in that week and everything that would come to me in that week would allow me to play in the grand final at Old Trafford on the Saturday to beat Cass. And it was quite a magical, wondrous week, mate. It was definitely something that has demonstrated the power of the mind and how we should be considering mental health as men and how we can hone it and better it. That was an incredible week, and as we know, we managed to beat Cass that Saturday, and I managed to go through the pain, play 80 minutes, and make the most tackles that game. So it always feels great to look back and think back about that time and to sort of understand your own resilience and understand what can be done for us guys too.
That is incredible, and I'm sure the celebrations match the preparation.
They did 3 or 4 days
following on from Brill. And you mentioned there in terms of mindset, and as you know, with MenTalk2, we're very much focused on mental health. We're kind of within the workplace. Mm-hmm. With being a professional sportsman, and specifically with rugby league, it's a big, tough traditionally northern sport. Mm. Is there much focus around the teams or around your team in terms of mental health, in terms of preparation, or do you regularly check in with the guys, or what does that kind of look like, I guess?
Yeah, mate. Well, since opening the box of that a few years ago, 2016, 4 years ago now, I sort of made it my mission to find out more about it and understand it more myself. And take the sort of the ill effects of mental health, the depression and anxiety, to sort of learn more about it, use it as an opportunity. I learned that myself, learned a load of stuff myself to help it and what hinders it, but also learn a bit about values and behaviours, and that completely coincides with how a team operates. We were performing really poorly in 2019, and I decided to take the lads through a bit of a few team meetings, talking about values, talking about behaviours, talking about what we expect of each other, and what it means to play, why we play, and all that is mental health, mate. All of that is understanding, the mission of why I play rugby. And I've been involved in so many teams, mate, where we've had pre-season camps where people stand up in front of the whole team and open up. They be vulnerable. They're vulnerable about where they are in life. They're vulnerable about what's happened in their life. But always on the other side of that is courage. Courage from the boys to accept them and accept their vulnerability. But then in turn, the vulnerable one or the bloke who's done it can feel themselves. They can be themselves after it, and they can go and perform, and they can go and really sort of feel like their teammates got the back because they've seen them at their darkest point, or they've heard their darkest truth. So that's a powerful thing, mate, and it's a powerful thing that unites men, unites teams, unites workforces, and that's certainly something that at Leeds we've done, and there's always been success after it and performances after it too. So yeah, the understanding on an individual level for me has been priceless, but then also I feel like that's helped me to be a captain, to be a leader too.
That's incredible that you guys are kind of able to do that. And then I suppose skipping back to 2016, like you mentioned, you started Mentality, which originally started as an online magazine, if I remember rightly, and I know has developed into a Mentality club, which I'm a proud member of.
Yes, sir.
The podcast, which is a fantastic podcast. But how was it? And kind of talk us through how you felt. I'm going to use a bad term here, but I'm trying to find a better one, really. But kind of coming out to the sporting world, and certainly the rugby league world, that you've been suffering from poor mental health within such a mature sport. Talk us through that.
Well, mate, 2016, like, even that long ago, what is it? It's the summer of 2016, so 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago now. Such a different environment to be talking about that sort of stuff, and a lot more scary making that jump, making that call, and that sort of decision to come out with the original article which launched Mentality, which was Dark Side of the Sport. It was a scary time, but as I said about that, before with the vulnerability, I was extremely vulnerable, and I had no idea what the reception would be. I had no idea how it would be taken. I'm sure that it was taken in so many different ways, but the thing that came back to me was the sort of bravery to do that, and the reception that I got was extremely rewarding, and people messaging me either privately or Twitter saying that, you know, it's happened for them, and they completely understand where I've been. And you know, that was 2016, and the dynamics shifted somewhat. I felt like we were at a tipping point back then when I did Mentality. I had all the anxiety and all the sort of feelings, which I didn't quite know what to do with. I didn't quite understand my emotions back then. But it's been a massive learning curve since then. And you know, ultimately, to launch Mentality, that was something that I felt like I had to do. So I didn't go back to a depression, which I felt back in 2014. Which was a complete lack of understanding. And you know, this is why I launched Mentality, to offer that knowledge, to offer that opportunity for people to open their minds, to change their minds for a better sort of more examined life and world. And you know, it was somewhat of a self-discovery for me. You know, I'm sort of really clear on what I am, who I am, and you know, that I feel like that's priceless. And it's been somewhat of a challenge to do that, and there's been some hairy moments, but it's really worthwhile.
Yeah. And how do you find the balance between still being a professional sportsman and running? Because I can imagine Mentality, and knowing that sort of probably half of the stuff that you get involved with Mentality, I can imagine that it probably could take over. So how do you find that kind of balance, and then still taking time for you to find the stuff that you kind of you want to do, and there's no pressure to do as well?
Yeah, it's, you know, that is a balance, and I think that balance has had to be sort of reassessed during lockdown, because you're in a completely different setting. You know, the Mentality stuff would come second to all rugby, so I'd be going in training. It might be 7 a.m. till about 1, 2 p.m. And then the Mentality stuff would come as a welcome distraction, or a welcome sort of time filler after that. You know, something positive. You know, a lot of lads, you know, might go home and play on the Xbox or PS4 for 3 or 4 hours, and you know, get square eyes and stuff. But you know, I've found something positive which I've been able to get involved in, and to push and to connect with people and to lead something. So that's been mega, and it's had to be reassessed with the whole COVID situation. But it's something that I'm really aware of, and something that I've learned that balance is obviously key. And also, I'm really lucky to have you guys with you know, Mentality Club, and that's somewhat of a support group for everyone, and so, a safe space for everyone to speak and to talk about what's going on in their lives. But yeah, sort of little pockets of that, little pockets of people. My partner Natalie's amazing. She understands me more than I understand me. And you know, the support network is really important. So I've had all that in place that's enabled me to benefit and to push things further too.
And that kind of moves us on really nicely, actually, to how has COVID affected Leeds Rhinos, the players, the support staff, and I suppose rugby league in general. I'm guessing you've got friends in other clubs as well, and so how has that affected?
It's been a strange one, mate. It's been a long time. I think it's been over 100 days now, and that's the longest period that, you know, any players had off. That's, you know, times 2, times 3 of our regular off season. And you know, there's dips in motivation, there's peaks in motivation, but we've all kept in contact. We've all been on Zoom calls with different athletes and different people from, you know, people from SAS, and people like you know, Gareth Thomas and Paul Scholes came on and did like a Zoom chat with us, where we all group on for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and chat and ask questions and pick apart, you know, there's some of the stuff that these successful people have done. But yeah, it's had to be something that you consciously have to remind yourself that you've got to train, you've got to get ready for something which at points has been who knows when we're going to get back? Who knows when that time is going to come? And that sort of end date, or that light at the end of the tunnel's there now. 2nd of August, I believe it to be, for when the games are going to resume for us. So that date and that why and that sort of purpose is a lot clearer now too. So it's been a tricky period. But a lot of the boys are good, and I think a period of time would have freshened them up as well.
Yeah, and I guess when that date was announced, and I'm presuming that you guys heard it before it was announced, kind of socially. I would imagine that the tone of the conversation might have started to change then, in terms of almost getting the professional head back on.
Yeah, for sure.
To really kind of focus on the next 5 weeks is it before it all kicks off again?
Yeah, for sure, mate. It's it's necessary. I think a lot of the boys have missed the sort of the crack with the lads. I think they've missed the to-ing and fro-ing from home and work, and a lot of the boys have missed it, and now it's sort of a sight that's pleasing everyone. That end date is in sight, so it's it's good. It's good to have that, and it's good to have that boost of motivation, and boys are training that little bit harder, I imagine too.
That's good to hear. And then just to kind of sort of finish off, really, what's the worst thing about being a professional sportsman?
That's a good one. Worst thing? No, it's not a bad job, but I'd say, actually, to fair, I've got every right to say it. But the injuries, I've got a concussion at the minute, and that's affected my life quite a lot. It's concussion's not a regular thing for everyone. It's sort of like a low percentage in the population, but obviously sports people get quite a lot more because of the contact game. But yeah, this concussion's been really tough. Been a really, really hard test. I always seem to be going through these tests. But yeah, the injuries, mate, the time away from the game, the sort of long stints in rehab, they can be tough. But you know what? I won't be here talking to you in this moment, and I won't be developing other interests and connections and passions if it weren't for them injuries. So, can't complain too much.
Okay, that's an amazing answer. The fact that you find the positives out of that is incredible. And what's your favourite thing? What's the best thing about being a professional sportsman?
Like I said, I'm a bit all or nothing, mate. I'm like, it's a help a lot of times, but sometimes it can be a hindrance. But that sort of moment, or that sort of game, last 10 minutes of a game where it is all or nothing, and you don't get many chances of that in life, but as a sportsman you get quite a few through the year, and in our job you get to be physical, you get to show your skill, you get to show what you've done as a young lad, and you get to repeat it, and then to sort of come back to that and go away from it every now and then, but you get to go and play your favourite game that you've played growing up, loving. So yeah, those last 10 minutes, I'd say those sort of celebrations with teammates, the celebrations with the people around you after doing something which before the game you was frightened to death about, you were nervous about, and you were possibly doubting that you can do it, but those moments make it all worth it.
Amazing. That's an amazing answer. And then just before we go as well, I believe you're trying your arm at a bit of acting.
I am, yeah. I am. This is what this podcast before, wasn't it? You wanted to ask me about acting.
That's it. All the previous sports stuff. It was
yeah, a bit of a lead up, mate. But it was the acting's been good. Obviously, I know you've heard Connected, which has been very relevant and quite good to have over the course of this lockdown period, this COVID-19 period. But we've sort of done a radio play which has been from the basis of me playing electrician, 26-year-old, and Paul Fox, who's got quite a bit more experience in the acting game than me, but he plays a plasterer, 40-year-old, and it's sort of us meeting up every Wednesday for a pint, just talking about life, having banter, talking about Leeds United, Liverpool, and then the oncoming bafflement of what coronavirus has been, and then it obviously moves on to Zoom, and it plays out from there. There's different storylines going through, and they're all quite funny, and it's quite good to see it develop, because we've been just learning the script week by week and finding out what's going on just as you guys will. So it's been pretty good, mate, for this period too.
And watch this space for the future then, I guess. Hollywood,
Exactly.
Hollywood next on the list.
Exactly, mate. You can come to the first premiere.
Oh, you're a very kind man. I'll take you up on that. Well, Stevie, we'll wrap up now. But I mean, first of all, thank you very much for kind of joining us on MenTalk2 Presents. As always, it's always a pleasure spending time in your company and hearing you talk. And where can people check Mentality out and yourself? Where's best for the guys to have a look at?
Yeah, it's like you just experienced how it's a tricky one, mate. I end up saying mentality now for mentality, but it's mentality on Twitter, it's mentality on Instagram. I believe it's Mentality Magazine on Facebook, but yeah, they can check us out. They can check me out at Stevie_Ward, and have a look at all that sort of stuff. Just you will find yourself in a bit of a rabbit hole once you look into mentality and where it's all gone. So enjoy it.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much again for your time. It's been brilliant. Good luck for the rest of the season. I hope you manage to get the concussion sorted and you do get back out on the field. And big thanks to everyone for checking us out at MenTalk2 Presents, and we will have more episodes coming soon. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, sir.